This is the Denki PC gaming setup, and I'm getting a little bored of it. Now, don't get me wrong, while it's functioned quite well over the past 2 years as my corner for testing all kinds of monitors and peripherals, especially for a setup that I shoot a lot of videos in, I've been wanting to do a refresh for quite some time. So we're gonna be upgrading a ton of things, from the aesthetics to the functionality of the desk, the gaming PC itself, making it not only a fun setup for me to film in, but also practical as well. So let's do this thing. But first, a word from our sponsor, Obsbot, with their Meet 2 webcam. The Meet 2 is honestly perfect for my new setup. Get this, it is the smallest 4K webcam you can buy right now. It is about the size of a wireless earbud case, but it packs a serious punch. This camera is good for crisp 4K 30 FPS video or 1080p 60. Plus, it has a half-inch sensor with an f1.8 aperture, which makes it great for low light. Use it for live streaming, making video calls, even recording YouTube videos. This is a pretty versatile piece of kit. The Meet 2 also pairs nicely with something like a laptop, and odds are has better image quality than the built-in one as well. Even better that it is compatible with Mac and Windows PCs. I mean, the footage you are seeing right now is directly from the Meet 2 itself. Pretty good, honestly. But where the Meet 2 really shines is with its AI features. For example, if you are a variety streamer, auto-framing keeps you centered whether you are leaning forward during an intense clutch moment in a game, or just chilling and sitting back. Plus, you can even control this camera with gestures. Throw up a high five near your face and it will lock onto you, or make an L shape with your hand to zoom in and out up to 2x. On top of all of this, setting up the camera is dead simple. It's completely plug and play, comes with this magnetic mount that makes it very easy to position. It's available in 3 sharp colors, and the software gives you plenty of control to help you perfect your shot. For $129 here in the US, the Obsbot Meet 2 is a solid upgrade if you are looking to step up your streaming or video call game. Plus, if you're looking to save a little bit of cash, these are going for 20% off on Amazon Prime Day. If you're interested, I'll drop a link in the description below, and huge thanks to Obsbot for sponsoring this portion of the video. And now, back to my gaming setup upgrade. Guys, I am super excited for this because our friends over at HYTE have sent over their brand new collaboration PC case, which just so happens to be with my favorite VTuber, Hololive's Hoshimachi Suisei. Now, without jumping too far ahead for spoilers, this is utilizing HYTE's Y70 case design, although with a custom paint job and artwork by an illustrator named Rosary, who is pretty well known in the Hololive space. Alright, so we have a really awesome looking centerpiece for our Denki gaming corner, but now also a theme. Call this a sort of shrine to my favorite VTuber, but Suisei does actually have some really awesome elements to her character, such as the colors that she uses. I love the space and star theming as well. I mean, it's literally in her name, Hoshimachi Suisei. So to help us out, in addition to sending over the Suisei Y70, HYTE also sent over their matching desk pad. We even have the matching Suisei keycaps, which looks absolutely sick, and even a wall scroll with the key artwork. Obviously, this is just the beginning of the video, but huge shout out to HYTE for letting me live out my weeb dream. And even better that it's with a brand and character that I'm actually invested in. Oh, yo, that artwork looks so much better in person. Woo! Just looking around this case on first impressions, there is a lot to take in with the design. Immediately, I am absolutely in love with this dark blue colorway and the gold accents. You have her name, Hoshimachi Suisei, on top, with some stars and planets for extra detail. And this even extends to the bottom of the case with a star power button. Also, while I haven't run power to this thing yet, I imagine that the button also lights up blue, which would be really cool. I can really tell that HYTE put a lot of attention to detail for the Hoshiomis, especially when looking at the back. While I don't think I'll be looking back here super often once the PC is built, you do have her name written in Japanese on the side, and another illustration back here with, it's your shooting star, your diamond in the rough. Hold on a minute, I just realized these cases are serialized. Your boy has 0005. Not gonna lie, that's actually kind of crazy. Holy. But yeah, enough chit chat. Let me get this back into my actual studio, put some PC components in here, and set it in to my PC gaming corner. Now, of course, we are a tech channel, so I should probably talk a little bit about the build. The goal for this setup is for it to absolutely kick at 4K gaming, especially to make the most of some of these crazy 4K OLED displays that have been coming out. So I picked some of the best components that you can get for this in 2025 and possibly for even 2026. We're talking about the immensely popular Ryzen 7 9800X3D, also the NVIDIA RTX 5080, and unlike what I would normally do with beefier PC builds, as you will see in a minute, the grandeur of the parts I'm using are actually going to be rather simple, especially on the aesthetic front, since honestly this is taken care of by the exterior of my case. Alright, motherboard is all prepped and ready to be installed in my case. It's honestly pretty straightforward. We have a 1TB SSD in here, 32 gigs of Corsair Dominator 5200 MHz DDR5 RAM, and once again, the Ryzen 7 9800X3D cooled by this Noctua D15S. Honestly, it's been a minute since I built a PC that's completely air-cooled, but I really did miss the simplicity. But honestly, this thing should handle it no problem given how beefy the heatsinks are, and of course with our large fan. It might not exactly be the most interesting looking cooler in the world, especially when you consider how many AIOs exist these days with OLED displays. And you might think that with a case such as the HYTE Y70 with all of these windows that an AIO with those screens would be a great choice. But since we have all of this fancy artwork and graphic design, adding an AIO with a screen would actually kind of take away from this window design that ultimately makes the case unique. Since the inside of the case is black, this Noctua cooler should blend in fairly well, even given how girthy it is. And functionally, talk about how simple this is. Compared to an AIO, we just have one CPU fan cable going into our header in the motherboard. That's all it takes to cool our Ryzen CPU. Future me will also appreciate it if I ever have to disassemble this for whatever reason. I got the PC all cable managed, buttoned up, and I even got Windows installed. But before I do the full reveal, first I have to work on the other half of my setup upgrade. And that's to refresh my desk as well as this entire corner. There are a handful of steps involved in this. First, obviously I'm going to have to take everything off the desk since I will be physically expanding on it more, and you'll be seeing what I mean in just a moment. I'll also be adding a bunch of sound panels to this white wall to add a bit of texture, and of course to make my audio sound better. And then of course I'll be adding my new PC, updated peripherals, my newest OLED display, and of course a lot of props and trinkets as I always do in my setups. If I'm being honest, it's quite a lot to get done in only a few hours, but it shouldn't be too bad. So I got my sound panels out of the box, and I must say they look so good. Ignore the protective shrink wrap here, but the wood grain does look quite nice in contrast with our blue and white walls. I also slightly overestimated what I actually needed for my wall, since I basically have double what I have here, which is honestly fine. If I want to extend the coverage of these sound panels, I can. Worst case scenario, I could just repurpose them for other parts of the room. Now, as for the desk itself, I'm still going to be utilizing the same one since there's nothing really wrong with it, but this is a perfect opportunity to do my favorite upgrade: adding a pegboard. These can be nice for a handful of reasons. For one, they do help with organization to help keep your desk nice and tidy. This one in particular comes in two very large pieces, allowing enough stability to even VESA mount a monitor. And of course, there are a lot of pegs here to mount accessories such as shelves, hooks, etc., which will definitely come in handy for mounting all of my Suisei trinkets that I want to display. Now, this Aegis pegboard did actually cost me a fair amount of money. On Amazon, it retails for around $200 for the 60-inch model, but upon opening this up, I realize that the actual pegboard is metal, so not only is it quite sturdy, but this is also really heavy.
12 seconds later.
Okay, slight issue here. So, with these columns that I have to mount onto the desk itself, these obviously have to run the width of the pegboard, but the issue that I'm running into is that we have the legs which kind of get in the way. You can kind of see it better on this side, but that is all I got. The thing is, once we mount a monitor on here, the weight's going to be coming this way, which, so I think the play here would actually be to modify the desk. Since I believe originally this was just a generic tabletop and we bought the legs separate, I can just unscrew the two sets of legs here, move them in more, and that should buy me the clearance that I need to actually install this pegboard. We are all good. The pegboard is now clamped center to the table, which is nice to see, which means I'm finally back on track. So I'm gonna get this pegboard all assembled, and I'll see you with the final build. Well, this is it, the new Denki gaming PC corner themed around my favorite VTuber, Hoshimachi Suisei. And honestly, it turned out way better than I had expected. I especially love the colors here. Obviously, Suisei leans heavily into the blue, but we also have this mix of gold and brass, black, white, plus the warmth of the wooden slats behind me that make this entire setup feel both modern and cozy. Of course, our PC with this special case from HYTE is what this whole setup revolves around. Since you've last seen it, I have configured the LEDs in here to give off this shooting star slash comet vibe to match the character's theme. I especially love how simple and clean the lines are on the Lian Li Unifan TLs. Oh, and I even got 3 of the stupid LCD variety to add a little bit of extra personality inside. Now, admittedly, the HYTE Y70 is quite a large case for what I was doing with this build, especially since I wasn't filling it with water cooling tubes, radiators, or obscuring this corner with an LCD screen. So to fill some of that awkward space inside, I actually put my Suisei Bear Brick in there, and I must say it fits quite well, both physically and aesthetically, matching the colors of the case and everything. Of course, looks aside, there's also hella performance in this rig. I'm not gonna go too in-depth on the numbers since this isn't a hardware review, but I did give Cyberpunk 2077 a go, and this is the first time I've actually been able to turn on path tracing in 4K with setups cranked up pretty high. No surprises here, the 5080 is an absolute beast of a card, as it should be for costing upwards of $1,400. Needless to say, this rig is absolutely going to make the most of all of the high-end monitors I'll be testing moving forward. Speaking of which, the display I have on the desk right now is the ROG XG 27-inch 4K QD OLED. Try saying that 50 times over. For being under $1,000, it is seriously one of the best premium monitors you can buy today for the price. This display is tack sharp in every sense. If you want to see my full thoughts on it, I actually made an entire video not too long ago about it. I'll link that below. Of course, as mentioned before, this OLED is mounted on my pegboard, which did end up working quite well, maybe short of some adjustability options. Perhaps later on, I would love to get this monitor a little closer to the actual pegboard itself since it does jut out quite a bit. However, even at this viewing distance, the experience is serviceable, but most importantly, I don't have to worry about a monitor stand getting in my way. My hands still have plenty of room to move around the desk. On that note, let's talk about the keyboard and mouse I'm using for this setup, since I'm sure some of you are curious about them. This right here is the Attack Shark R3. It's something that we featured on the channel before. I believe I bought it on either Temu or AliExpress, but it only cost me around $70, and it's actually available on Amazon for near that price. And then for the keyboard, so I went hunting around in our Overclock Media inventory, And this was probably the coolest keyboard of the lot. It's called the Black Diamond 75 from Dry Studio. And the idea is that the makers behind it wanted it to sort of be a Lamborghini of keyboards. Like, quite literally, it takes inspiration from a supercar, specifically a fully modified all-carbon Lamborghini Aventador called the Mansory Carbonado. I'll be honest, that sounds way above my pay grade. I didn't even know that existed. But for this keyboard in particular, the details are impeccable. We're talking an aluminum alloy base frame, hand-polished acrylic on the sides and top, which give you a peek inside to reveal a leaf spring-mounted PCB. What this does is allow the keyboard to absorb the shock of you typing, which in theory should make it more comfortable. However, the main reason why I chose it in the first place was really because of the looks. The brass accents match the secondary hues on our Suisei mousepad as well as on our PC case, while the carbon fiber ties into a lot of the darker tones in the setup, including with our PC hardware and the pegboard. With that said, I'm honestly impressed with how good the pegboard turned out. It did require a little bit of work to get working on my tabletop, though it should just mount normally to standard desks fine. I also bought a handful of generic pegboard accessories to mount all of my Suisei goods, and overall, I love this upgrade a lot, even though it was far from being the cheapest pegboard you can buy on the market. Now, in terms of the actual Suisei stuff that I have here in my shrine, there are definitely crazier collections out there on the internet, but honestly, I'm really happy with what I was able to accomplish here, especially given this still has to be a modular production and workspace. Getting into it a little more, the Friends With You plushies are definitely a staple in any HoloLive collection. I also have this puppet in the middle that admittedly cost me a little too much money with the UFO catchers in Japan. On the left side, I have some mementos from Suisei's actual concert at the prestigious Nippon Budokan venue. As a Suisei fan, this event was honestly really important, as it was her biggest goal to do as an artist, as it is for a lot of aspiring musicians in Japan. I got myself the pen light, which looks really sick, especially with this 3D star in the middle. I was also pretty close to the stage, which allowed me to get a streamer, which they shot out at the climax of the concert. And while this doesn't always happen at live events in Japan, this streamer in particular has a printed but handwritten message from Suisei herself. That concert was honestly one of the most emotional ones I've ever been to. I don't know, it's just really cool seeing someone being able to do what they actually set out to do from the beginning. So, mad respect there. Beyond that, on the top shelf, I actually have a pair of the official Suisei Converse, which was an absolute pain in the butt to get. But these are really cool because they have special custom touches on them that tie to Suisei's theme. To the right of that, I have her first album, Still Stellar Stellar, on vinyl, which I actually do put in the background here in the studio while shooting B-roll. And then finally, to the left, I have some acrylic HoloLive blocks that I got on my last trip to Japan, featuring all of my other favorite HoloLive members. But yeah, that is my brand new Denki gaming PC setup themed around Hoshimachi Suisei. I know this was a bit of a different video, but if you stuck around for this long, thank you so much for spending your day with me in the few times a year I get to indulge in my WEEB fandom. If you're a Hoshiomi yourself, shout out in the comments below. We absolutely love to see it. And otherwise, thanks for watching this video on Denki Channel.